On a warm Caribbean morning in April 2009, the sun was casting its golden rays across the tarmac of Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, Jamaica. As passengers began boarding what should have been a routine flight back to Halifax, Nova Scotia, CanJet Flight 918, operated by a Boeing 737-800, represented the kind of vacation charter service that had become increasingly popular among Canadian tourists seeking affordable tropical getaways. The passengers, likely sunburned and carrying bags filled with souvenirs and rum, were preparing to return to their regular lives in the maritime provinces after what had probably been a blissful week of beaches, reggae music, and Caribbean hospitality. None of them could have imagined that their departure would be delayed by one of the most dramatic aviation incidents in recent Canadian history. An event that would test the skills of negotiators, the courage of crew members, and the resilience of travelers who found themselves caught in an international crisis. The hijacker, who would transform this peaceful morning into a tense standoff, was a lone gunman, whose motivations and background would later become the subject of intense investigation and speculation. Armed with a firearm, and apparently determined to take control of the aircraft, he represented a throwback to an earlier era of aviation security. Threats that many had assumed were largely extinct in the post-September 11th world. The fact that he was able to board the aircraft while armed raised immediate questions about security procedures at Sangster International Airport and highlighted the ongoing challenges faced by aviation authorities in maintaining consistent security standards across different countries and jurisdictions. His actions would demonstrate that, despite decades of improvements in airport security, the fundamental vulnerability of commercial aviation to determined individuals remained a constant concern for law enforcement and airline security professionals worldwide. The Boeing 737-800 that became the stage for this drama was a relatively modern aircraft, part of the 737 next-generation family that had become the backbone of many airlines' short to medium-haul operations. CanJet, a Canadian charter airline that had been operating since 1999, specialized in providing vacation flights to popular tourist destinations throughout the Caribbean and Central America. The company had built its reputation on offering affordable flights to destinations that might otherwise be prohibitively expensive for many Canadian travelers, making tropical vacations accessible to middle-class families and budget-conscious tourists. The airline's business model depended heavily on maintaining a reputation for safety and reliability, making the hijacking incident particularly damaging from both a public relations and operational security standpoint. Aircraft hijackings, while relatively rare in the modern era, had a long and troubled history in international aviation, particularly involving flights to and from the Caribbean region. During the 1960s and 1970s, hijacking had become an almost routine occurrence, with Cuba being the most popular destination for hijackers seeking political asylum or simply trying to escape legal troubles in their home countries. The phenomenon had become so common that pilots began carrying maps to Havana, and airlines developed specific protocols for dealing with hijack situations. However, following the implementation of comprehensive security measures in the 1970s and 1980s, including metal detectors, baggage screening, and armed sky marshals, hijacking incidents had declined dramatically, making the CanJet incident all the more shocking to both aviation professionals and the general public. The moment the hijacker revealed his weapon and announced his intentions to take control of the aircraft, the situation immediately escalated from a routine departure delay to an international incident requiring coordination between Canadian, Jamaican, and potentially American authorities. The crew of Flight 918, trained in standard hijacking protocols, but likely hoping they would never need to use such training, found themselves responsible not only for the safety of their passengers, but also for serving as intermediaries between the hijacker and law enforcement negotiators. The captain's decision-making process would prove crucial in determining whether the incident would end peacefully or escalate into tragedy, as aviation history had shown that the actions of flight crews during hijacking situations often determined the ultimate outcome of such crises. Jamaican authorities, working in coordination with Canadian officials and international aviation security experts, quickly established a crisis response team to handle the negotiations with the hijacker. The negotiation process in hijacking situations requires a delicate balance between meeting the hijacker's immediate demands to prevent violence, while simultaneously working to de-escalate the situation and create opportunities for a peaceful resolution. Negotiators must assess the hijacker's mental state, motivations, and level of desperation while maintaining communication that keeps both the hijacker and the hostages calm. The fact that the incident was taking place on foreign soil added additional complexity to the situation, as it required coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies with different protocols, languages, and legal jurisdictions. As hours passed on the tarmac at Sangster International Airport, the passengers aboard Flight 918 found themselves in a surreal situation that few civilian travelers are ever prepared to experience. Hijacking situations create a unique form of psychological stress for hostages, who must navigate the competing demands of remaining calm and compliant, while also staying alert for potential opportunities to assist in their own rescue. The passengers who had been looking forward to returning home after their vacation instead found themselves thrust into the role of unwilling participants in an international incident that would likely be covered by news media around the world. Their behavior and cooperation would prove essential to maintaining the relatively stable atmosphere that ultimately allowed negotiators to work toward a peaceful resolution. The prolonged nature of the negotiations, stretching over several hours, actually worked in favor of a peaceful resolution, as it allowed both the hijacker and the passengers to move past the initial shock and adrenaline of the situation and settle into a more manageable psychological state. Extended hijacking incidents often provide opportunities for negotiators to build rapport with the hijacker, assess their true motivations and demands, and identify potential points of compromise that might lead to a peaceful surrender. The fact that the aircraft remained on the ground throughout the incident also eliminated many of the additional risks and complications that would have been introduced if the hijacker had successfully forced the plane to take off and attempt to reach another destination. The successful resolution of the incident, without any injuries, represented a triumph for crisis negotiation techniques and international cooperation in aviation security. The peaceful outcome stood in stark contrast to many historical hijacking incidents that had ended in violence, tragedy, or extended standoffs that lasted for days or weeks. The professionalism demonstrated by all parties involved, from the flight crew and passengers to the negotiators and law enforcement personnel, helped ensure that what could have been a catastrophic situation was resolved with minimal harm to anyone involved. The incident also provided valuable lessons for aviation security professionals about the ongoing need for vigilance and the importance of maintaining effective crisis response protocols even in an era when hijacking had become relatively uncommon. The eventual safe return of Flight 918 to Halifax marked the end of one of the most significant aviation security incidents involving a Canadian airline in recent memory. But it also raised important questions about airport security procedures, crew training, and the ongoing challenges of maintaining aviation safety in an increasingly complex global travel environment. The incident served as a reminder that despite decades of improvements in aviation security, the fundamental vulnerabilities that make commercial aircraft attractive targets for criminals and terrorists remain largely unchanged. For CanJet, the incident represented both a crisis successfully managed and a challenge to the company's reputation that would require careful handling in the months and years that followed. For the passengers who lived through the experience, the incident would likely remain a vivid reminder of how quickly routine travel can be transformed into extraordinary circumstances that test human resilience and the effectiveness of the systems designed to protect civilian aviation from those who would exploit its vulnerabilities for their own purposes. The peaceful resolution of CanJet Flight 918 stands as a testament to the power of skilled negotiation, international cooperation, and the professionalism of everyone involved in what could have easily become a tragic situation. While the incident served as a stark reminder that aviation security threats have not been entirely eliminated in our modern world, it also demonstrated how effective crisis management, careful communication, and patient diplomacy can transform potentially catastrophic situations into stories of successful conflict resolution. The passengers who boarded that Boeing 737-800, expecting nothing more than a routine flight home from their Caribbean vacation, instead became witnesses to a masterclass in crisis management that likely prevented loss of life and showed the best of human cooperation under extreme pressure. Their ordeal highlighted both the ongoing vulnerabilities in our global aviation system and the remarkable capacity of trained professionals to handle even the most unexpected and dangerous situations with skill and composure. This incredible story of tension, negotiation, and ultimate triumph reminds us that behind every peaceful resolution of a crisis lies the dedication of countless professionals working together to protect innocent lives and maintain the safety of our interconnected world. The CanJet incident may have been terrifying for those who lived through it, but it also represents hope that even in our most challenging moments, human ingenuity and cooperation can prevail over those who would use fear and violence to achieve their goals. If you found this tale of international crisis management and successful conflict resolution as compelling as we did, make sure to hit that like button and let us know in the comments what other dramatic aviation incidents or Canadian crisis management stories you would like us to explore next. Do not forget to subscribe to West is Best for more incredible true stories of courage, cooperation, and crisis resolution from across Canada and beyond. And remember to ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest deep dives into the extraordinary moments that test our systems and reveal the best of human character under pressure. Because when it comes to stories of Canadian resilience and international cooperation, West is best.